Welcome to the Veritas Equipping Podcast, a podcast designed to provide insight, resources, and biblical wisdom. Our mission as Veritas Church is raise up mature disciples, send out everyday missionaries, glorify God. Join us as we pursue Jesus to become mature disciples and effective disciple makers for God's glory.
Veritas, welcome to our Equipping Podcast. We've been taking some time in these episodes to look at different issues in our society and try to see them through a biblical gospel lens. And we've been wading into some hot topics or controversial topics in our community and society. But if the world's talking about it and the church isn't, we're not being helpful. So we decided to wade into some of these waters. And today is one that's might be particularly hot right now in our societies, the issue of immigration. And I'm here with the Matts.
Did I get the right? I thought we were talking about the boundary waters. I didn't know we were talking about...
That would be a much more fun conversation. Now I just want to talk about the boundary waters.
The Matts. Sorry. Yes.
Sorry. Matthew Morgan's not here, but I'm here with two of our elders, Matt Thede and Matt Hoffert. Why are you guys experts to talk about this?
Showed up on my calendar.
Julie put it on my calendar, and I said, sure, sign me up. And then you told me the topic. I'm like, God, what did I get myself into?
And as elders in the church, we don't claim to be experts on these issues, but we want to help people look at them through a biblical lens.
We should be able to speak into it, right?
Yeah. So guided by God's word, let's help our people process this. What's the tension right now in our country over immigration? Like, why is what's going on politically that's made this a really hot topic?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have a previous administration that kind of was like, come one, come all, and now you have a current administration that's saying the opposite. And so I think from a just political standpoint, even a Christian standpoint, you seem to have people who are either on the side of like, we need more secure borders and we need to shore that up. And then you have people who are, well, we need to be hospitable and love our neighbor and all those things. And instead of maybe having a lens in which both can happen, we kind of have people who are polarized and kind of on both ends of the spectrum. That creates quite a bit of conflict.
Far be it from the politicians to come to and say like, there might be a place in the middle that could work.
Yeah.
So in the last administration, there was, we've had in the history of our country immigrants coming.
Yep.
We're a country of immigrants in so many ways. The last administration, there was the part of the presidential debate was the issue of border security. I think there was at times up to over 10,000 people a day crossing the border with Mexico, and just the influx was. And then you have news stories of crime, violent crime happening along with immigrants, which in one part, that's a true story. That happened. And then in the other part, it seemed like this demonization of all immigrants under that umbrella. So hot topic on, are we going to secure the border? What does that mean? How do we catch up? So Christians are caught up in this political fight. How should a Bible-believing Christian think about this issue?
I think really there's two points that people will come to, right? And I think like Romans 13, 1-5, we are to be subject to the governing authorities. And if we resist the authorities, we resist kind of what God has appointed. And then there's also like the Deuteronomy 10, 18, and 19, which like God loves the sojourner. So the command is to love the sojourner because they were sojourners in the land of Egypt, right? So the tension of like those two, like what's that look like for a Christian to address those, and like what is the context of the relationship that I have with somebody? Are they in our church? Are they our friend? Who do we support in that area? And what's our role, given that like we're not a government, we're not a government employee, enforcing government laws. At the same time, we're to be subject to the governing authorities.
Yeah. So you have Romans 13 calling us to be good citizens submissive to our government. I've heard it said like, we're to be good citizens until being a good citizen prevents you from being a good Christian.
Yeah. Yeah, is the government asking me to violate God's commands?
Okay,
right? I don't.
Scripture clearly tells us to love our neighbor, to love the foreigner,
Yeah.
to show hospitality to the stranger, to have compassion on the hurting. Does having border policies and wanting to enforce or deport illegal immigrants a violation of love the foreigner, have compassion on the hurting? Is that kind of the issue? Like, these things are in tension?
Well, I'm going to back up just a little bit there, even just like Acts 17:26. Like Paul even mentions that God made mankind to live on the earth and like determining the boundaries of their dwelling places. So we even have evidences of like God, commanding and setting up boundaries for different locations, right? So
it's not wrong for a country to have borders.
Yeah, I think that's important. Like, it's not wrong to have borders, right? I mean, we have government authorities. We expect them to operate under the systems that they've created, And so what does that look like? I think that was your question, right? Like, what does that look like to live in that tension? Is that kind of what your question was?
Is there this tension between, all right, a government has a responsibility and a right to protect its borders, and the Christian is clearly called to love the foreigner, have compassion on the hurting? Like, are those two things in conflict? And I think the silence, it speaks of the mess.
Right.
And I think you just look at leadership. When you have policies you don't enforce, you create a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a sense of, hey, you shouldn't do this, but we're going to allow you to do it.
Yeah.
And it's been allowed for so long.
Right.
And then a new administration comes in and says, hey, we've been violating our own policies. We need to start enforcing our policies. Then you have a lot of people kind of caught in that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of an example of how we might be able to relate. So, for example, technically, I think, I could be wrong. Technically, it's against the law to jaywalk. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to walk at crosswalks.
Sure.
Outside of Barney Fife, nobody's given tickets for jaywalking, right? It's just kind of one of those things that you can jaywalk. It's okay. But let's say all of a sudden our local police says, we're going to start enforcing jaywalking. There's a little bit of like, okay, now I know.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But
Right.
if you get a ticket all of a sudden and nobody told you, you might be upset. Like, nobody told me, like, I do this all the time. It's never been a problem. Now it's a problem. There might be some frustration on this. But then if they said, hey, actually, jaywalking's been against the law for a long time, and we have cameras, and we're going to go back and identify everybody that's jaywalked in the past 10 years, and we're going to send them tickets. There might be some frustration.
Yeah, sure.
And then if the price of the ticket was like, I can't afford, like, you're charging me interest 10 years ago, and
Yeah,
you're
the
asking me to
punishment
pay
doesn't fit that crime.
$25,000 because I jaywalked 10. There would be some outcry.
Yeah.
I think. I'm trying to like get my mind, like, how might I think if somebody came over and be like, okay, I know we're not supposed to, but you can.
Right.
And they're allowed, and I got a number. I'm like, they know I'm here. It's kind of, it was winked at. And now I've been here for 10 years, and now you're telling me, I think there's, at some level, whatever we think of the policy, we have to understand, like, the people involved would be like, oh, that would be frustrating. Like, I could relate to the frustration you would have as a family.
Right. Yeah,
That'd
for
be
sure.
fair.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, does that mean, now there's two different issues. It's like, whoa, what would you do to solve the problem? Or what should we advocate for might be different than what classifies as Christian and unchristian. Because sometimes that's where the debate goes, like, what's the Christian thing to have open borders? No, it's the Christian thing.
Right.
And that's where I'm like, well, there's more complexity to it.
Yeah, there's
that.
nuance to it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think it's not anti-Christian to have borders, right? And it's not anti-Christian to want to have a sovereign nation and a secure nation, right? Now that also doesn't mean, like, I don't consider it my duty to go out in the world and enforce that. Like, I'm not knocking on people's doors.
Who was
saying?
Who was the actor that played Superman on TV? Oh, I mean, I know there's been a lot of them. Who's the guy? Do you know Sam who I'm talking about? Dean Cain.
Oh, Dean Cain.
What did he come out and just like ask people to join ICE?
I don't know.
No, he did. I think he did. Like on some social media thing, like you need to join. Like, is there this pressure of like tell on your neighbors and report things where? And I think everybody listening would be like, listen, if you're here and you commit a crime,
Yep.
like you got to be. But
Yep.
you feel like these are wonderful families who are providing, and like, is it my responsibility as a Christian to tell on them?
Right.
How do you get kind of caught up in that? That makes could be hard. But let me frame a question for you because I'm rambling more than asking questions. A while back, there was Vice President Vance made a comment that the Pope refuted. So we're going to see if you're on Team Vance or Team Pope. And I don't remember the exact comment, but basically he was saying there is spheres of responsibility when it comes to love. Like you have a responsibility to love your family more than your neighbor, and you have a responsibility to love your neighbor more than, somebody who lives 100 miles from you or another citizen. But basically, there's spheres of responsibility in love practically. Where the Pope is like, there's no hierarchy of love. We're called to love all people. Now they might be missing each other a little bit, but
Sure.
what sideline would you jump on to defend their viewpoint?
I'll let Matt go first, and I'll tell him if he's wrong or right.
I don't know if this is taking a cop out, but it's like, yeah, we are called to love everyone. And who is your neighbor? I mean, I think, Good Samaritan kind of lays that out. And I feel a bigger responsibility to my kids than I do to Thede's kids or strangers' kids or kids.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I feel compelled to take care of and care for and spend more time with and be more intentional with my family than I do other families.
Yeah.
So
I'll play my cards.
Yeah,
I'm on Team Vance.
Team Vance, yeah.
But because here's what, you look at the story of the Good Samaritan, and part of the story is you have a Samaritan helping a Jew. So it's like you're crossing cultural bounds.
Yeah.
But you can't ignore the proximity of the story.
Yes.
He walked by
He
him.
walked past him.
Yeah, there was closeness. Like you can't be held equally responsible for the injustice in Papua New Guinea or Uganda than you are for the injustice across the street or the injustice in your own home. Like there's levels of responsibility. So I think in that sense, a defense of the government being more strict on immigration right now, from my vantage point, would be there was a massive influx of immigration. Yeah. It was like in 1 year, like over 2 million, I believe, and like I said, over 10,000 a day at times, like just a flood. Well, when a government has a responsibility to a society, like our government is responsible for America more than they're responsible for Mexico. There's an influx or an overload on a system. Like, can our law enforcement system, can our healthcare system, can it contain this? Yeah. So how do you deal with the influx that might be overwhelming a system that they're responsible for overseeing? So in that sense, it's like, okay, I get it. When you look at it from a government responsibility, it's like, hey, you have a responsibility to your citizens to deal with this problem. And then when you look at it on an individual situation, it's like, oh, but I know that family. Yeah. And they're a great family, and I would hate to see them be sent back. So it's like there's these two different lenses. Like you could look at it just as an issue, or you could look at it just as a relational person I know. Right. And both of those could lead to a ditch. One could lead to like, I'm ignoring the responsibility the government has to care for its citizens and protect the overwhelmingness of the systems it's set up. And the other side would be like, could forget people and places. Now, the Christians that we're talking to aren't in a position to make policy or do that, but trying to help us understand the complexity of the issue.
Can I go a different?
Please. I don't know where.
Yeah, that's all right. No, I think part of this is like, I'm going to refute my own nature. Like my nature is like wear my heart on my sleeve. Like I'm going to err on the side of loving the sojourner that rather than telling on someone, like that aspect of it. I think not that anybody else would do anything different. I think if I'm in a long relationship with somebody who's a Christian in our church and I'm an elder in the church, I'm probably going to press in and say like, what is your, like, where are you at if you've been here illegally? What's that look like if I have that relationship with them? Now, this is going to feel like more law and judge aspect of it. I go, but like we can hide behind like the God is sovereign, but at the same time, like I'm preaching this Sunday on trials, right? And trials are producing something in us. And one of the things I want to ask our people is like steadfastness is something that is worth way more than anything a trial can take away from us, right? So like when we say God is sovereign, if we're not asking somebody to sin and going, like it's not a sin to ask somebody to go back to their home country. Like Paul was in prison. He embraced prison from the standpoint of like, I'm going to go, I want to appeal to the highest court so that I can tell them about Jesus, right? And so like...
Yeah, it is the irony that Paul says submit to your government was in prison.
Yeah.
Because there's a limit to submitting to your government. When they're saying like, hey, Paul, you can't talk about Jesus anymore. It's like, oh, that's cute.
Right.
Yeah. But like, I what I'm saying is like, is there a trust factor of like, no, it's not wrong to ask somebody to, go back to, go back and come in the right way? Is there a conviction that they have on that? Should there be a conviction on that? And then like, and there's a trust factor of like, okay, this is going to be a trial. It is going to be uncomfortable, but I need to lean in and trust and understand that God is producing something in me that's far greater than me staying and like living under maybe like my guilt of like.
That's a good point. We were talking as elders before this, and I think Garrett made a good point of when you look at laws and judge if they're just or unjust laws. There may be good and bad laws or laws that cause hardship and difficulty, but is the law asking somebody to sin?
Yeah.
Right.
Like asking somebody to return to their country could be really hard on a family, but it's not a sin. And I think if a law is asking somebody to sin, we would say, don't obey that law.
Yep.
So Matt and I go shoot like bows at the bow range, or like we're hunters, right? So a good question would be like, if we went to that group who confessed maybe to be Christians, and they're hunters, and we said, guys, what are you going to do when the government says they're going to come and take your guns, And like, if we were to tell them like, well, it's not illegal, like it doesn't impact my worship, you know what I mean? Like it's not asking me to be sinful to come and take my guns. They would lose it. I mean, they'd be like, no, there's nobody going to take my,
Did I tell you about when we did Sam, what was that class called? The Christianity and current events. So each class we took a current event, and we did gun rights for one. Like how should a Christian? And so I'm playing these scenarios out, like if they come for your guns, and do you have to? And one guy in the back, this was hilarious. He raises, and it's like, so would you give the government your guns if they came and knocked at your door, take your guns? He raises his hand. He goes, I'd give him my guns, bullets first.
Yeah, to my point of like,
I was not expecting that answer.
Like that question got
nor
brought up.
advocating that answer.
I'm trying to be serious here.
Okay.
Just kidding. I think where I was going with that was that like it's not asking me to violate God's command. Like so if somebody came and I'm like they're not taking my worship. You know what I mean? Like so if somebody is being asked to come in legally, like it may feel like, what? You're taking my guns? Like what? You're asking me to take my family back? It's like, well, no, we're not asking. Nobody's asking you to be sinful. Right. I shouldn't say we. The government's not asking you to be sinful.
This isn't a podcast about.
Yeah.
Is it the Second Amendment?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. This isn't a podcast about the Second Amendment because I do think there are complexities in America where there's a constitution.
Correct. Yes. That's
right.
That's
So it's not just like whatever the government leaders say.
The point.
So I just want to like.
Yeah.
We're
correct.
not talking about the Second Amendment.
Correct.
But
No. The point is like, is the government asking me to be sinful?
Sure.
And like the answer is no.
Yeah.
Like they're not asking me to commit sin. Like that's where we would draw the line, right? I mean.
Yes. To ask a family who came here illegally to return could be hard on that family, but it is not the government's not asking them to sin.
Yeah.
So on one sense, I think we need to, what I would like to do is maybe temper the tone of the Christian who's saying, how could a government do this to people? And be like, time out.
Yeah.
A government has a responsibility to its citizens, and they have a responsibility for border laws and to see the weight on systems and care for their citizens. That's what they've been tasked to do. And for the Christian who's like, get these illegals out of here, I want to say, time out.
Yeah.
Do not dehumanize any person who's made in the image of God.
Yeah.
Understand the complexities. Do not put every illegal immigrant in the category of some drug smuggling rapist. Do not do that. Value people, care for people, and just appreciate the complexities of this issue.
Yeah.
Jake, I do want to ask one question before we finish up. Like, are there any scenarios where violating the law, like, for example, violating a governmental command that you would say, like, it's okay for, like, this is okay for this person? Like, if there's 100 people that are coming in, 97 of them are coming in just because, like, well, it's looking for a better life. 3 of them are coming in for, name a reason that you feel like would be justified, like, in a sense
in
that,
the
like,
issue of immigration.
Yeah, like this family came across, like sex trafficking, for example. Like, we're fleeing. My
I do
daughter
think we
was
have
going
to
to be
understand,
sex
in America,
trafficked
we do have refugee status, which is different than immigration. Like, you're here as a refugee.
Yeah.
You're fleeing danger.
Mm-hmm.
That's different than, like, I came over
Sure.
in immigration.
Okay.
But you're saying, is there a situation where...
where we'd say, like, man, that feels like that'd be justified from a standpoint.
I think a father who takes seriously the call to provide for his family, if I'm in that situation and I see, oh, I could do that more in that country than this country, and I know they say you can't come in, but they're letting people in. It's kind of a jaywalk thing. Like, I can come, I can get this work stamp, I can do it. I could see, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take my family and I'm going to try to provide a better life and a better education for my kids, and let's do it. They don't seem to really be enforcing that law, so I could see breaking. I don't know if people watch or listen. I'm giving air quotes. I could see breaking that law that doesn't seem to be that enforced. Now, I also have to say, well, I am taking a risk.
Yeah.
And I may be there for a while, and they may enforce that law, and that's the risk that I take in doing it.
Yeah. If you jaywalk, you don't expect to get a ticket. But if you do get a ticket, you can't be like, you're unjust in doing this.
Yeah. Like, now, as a citizen of America, a voting citizen, I also want to say, get your act together.
Right.
Like, you're hurting people by not following through with your inconsistencies, your policies. I want to say, get a better path to citizenship.
Yeah.
Figure it out. These are real families that are getting caught in your dysfunction. So get your act together. Like, I do want to say that.
Yeah.
Just like you would say, like, hey, I'll pay the jaywalking ticket. That's crazy, though, but you guys need to be more clear on.
Yeah.
So there is a sense of there needs to be consistency and clarity, and it's how you love people.
Yeah. And it is like, I mean, again, it's super polarizing, but it's like there is room for a sovereign nation with borders and a process to get in and, like, upholding the law. And as a follower of Christ, like, I can love people who are foreigners or here illegally or refugees or whatever. Like, those two things can coexist.
Yeah.
And I can care about their soul and their status before a holy God more than I care about them getting deported.
Yeah. And we want people to be citizens of heaven more than citizens of America.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And God is king of all the earth.
Yep.
And he's sovereign if you stay. He's sovereign if you go back. And like you were saying, Matt, like trials are a gift from God that is used to shape us, that we shouldn't always try to avoid. And I think some of it is just we all love comfort and ease.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, but that's not what God calls
so much
us
is an obstacle to our comfort, right? Or an enemy to our comfort. And it's
right.
Got to shake that paradigm.
Yeah. And in a materialistic world, I think there's often like this, I want a better life means I want a higher income.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like, well, that's not equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
We want you walking faithfully with God. Yeah. And in part of that discipleship, it's being obedient to the governing authorities to the extent of they're not asking you to sin.
Mm-hmm.
But a complex issue. Any thoughts you'd want to leave our people with?
I think I wasn't sure we could cover all of it, but I think we got it.
Yeah. We covered all of it. We solved the problem.
We tackled a sliver of it anyway.
Yeah, I would just say I think there's people at Veritas who lean both directions, right? And so for the person who is so like, if I encounter an illegal immigrant tomorrow on the street, I'm going to call the authorities. Yeah, and be like, chill out. We're like, what? What does
how about ask a name?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
show
like,
some
what is
kindness.
it? Yes, like what does it look like to be hospitable?
Understand their story.
Yeah, and then I think the other side where it's like, how could a church or a Christian or government not let everybody in? It's like, well, no, like there's rules in place for a reason, and so maybe you need to chill out the other way. Like, it's okay to be somewhat moderate in this issue.
Yeah. I remember there was a sermon you gave really early on in your time here, but it really, really challenged us in the sense that like we can sit behind like papers and like have idealistic, like, I care about the sojourner. Yeah, I care about race issues. I care about, the pregnancy issue. I mean, like abortion issues and all that stuff. Like, and I think you said, like, when's the last time you walked up to someone who looked different than you and said hi to them and talked to them? When's the last time that you've sat and talked with somebody in this area? And I think I've been so encouraged just from like even learning Spanish in high school and then college and then being able to practice that while playing baseball. Like just, okay, I'm going to trust you, God. I may get made fun of for my Spanish, but I'm going to go try to have a conversation. Yeah. And so I know that's one country, or one language, right? At the same time, like I can tell you the fruit that has come from those just by stepping into those shoes and erring on the side of loving that sojourner in that moment, Now, I don't have long-standing relationships with those people, but at the same time, I've gotten to know them for a couple months, and like my life is better because of it. And I would say that, like, man, I got a chance to share the gospel because of entering into somebody else's situation and just entering into that conversation with them and how they got here. What's your story? Tell me about it, and sitting and listening and just and having a heart for that. So, God's sovereign. He's just as you guys said, there's two sides to it. I think people should feel challenged no matter which way you lean here. But that's how I'd leave it.
Well, hopefully that was helpful. I mean, we talked about it for a while. How long did we talk, Zach?
28 minutes.
28 minutes. It's more on the short side.
Yeah. Dang it.
But it's an issue that is talked a lot about in our society today. So think biblically. Don't react politically.
Yeah. I think that's, in this whole entire series, you said at the very beginning, is like, why do I think and feel the way that I do? Is it emotion? Is it politics? Is it something I hear on this news station? Or is it I'm digging into God's word and this is forming and informing me, and therefore I'm making these decisions. And so in all these issues, like that's the goal. Yeah. Is be biblically formed, be biblically informed, and move forward accordingly. Yeah.
So we're going to end this one short, which reminds me of my wife's counsel in all my sermons, where I'll be like, I don't know if I got enough content. And she'll just be like, nobody's going to get mad if you finish early, Jake. I just don't know how to take that all the time. But we're done a little early. Hopefully this and this series of addressing some of these issues has been helpful. Our hope is, as the people of Veritas, that we think and act biblically in all matters. Love you guys.